Hello crafty friends and welcome to my channel Create with Callia. I'm Callia. For today's video, I'm going to be working on the August mystery envelope for the Inspiration Collaboration Design Team. The challenge for August was to use these materials from the Memories in Bloom workshop: metallic textures rub-ons, satin and sheer ribbon, and strawberry slush and pretty and pink gems to create a mini album. The Memories in Bloom workshop features the Florals in Bloom DSP, which I think is absolutely gorgeous. It's perfect for scrapbooking pictures of your gardening activities and your flower beds. Included in the envelope were also some die-cut items that were punched from the To The Point label punch and the bow punch. I've printed off this stack of photos of a project that I've been working on since the beginning of summer in 2025. To make this mini album, I'll be cutting down some of these photos and using a variety pack 6x8 photo pocket page pack. This variety pack of page protectors includes 12 pages in 5 different designs. There's one page that is fully 6x8. There are 2 that are 4x6. There are 3 pages that are 3x4. And there are 3 pages each of 2 3x4 and 1 4x6. 3 of the pages include the 4x6 on the bottom of the page, and 3 of them include the 4x6 at the top of the page. I will also be using Stampin' Up's Basic Black 6x8 album to create my mini album. All of these items can be found on page 30 of the annual catalog or on my website. To start my album, I've brought in some Granny Apple Green two-tone cardstock. I've cut a piece of cardstock down to 8 1/4 by just shy of 6 1/4 inches. If you're not familiar with Stampin' Up's page protectors, you'll be able to tell that you have the page protector oriented the correct way if you can read the Stampin' Up label when you are looking at the spine of the page protector. You may have noticed that I'm starting this album by using the darker side of the two-tone cardstock. In order to save both space and weight in this album, I will actually be creating my layouts on both sides of the cardstock to take advantage of the fact that it is two-toned. This will also help create some additional variety on my pages. The picture I just placed will be page 2 of this album. I'm leaving the front page completely open as I was working on this album at a crafting retreat. When I return home, I'll be using the print and cut feature of Cricut Design Space to create the title for my album. If you're familiar with my channel, I've made several layouts in the past of projects that I've worked on as I work on getting my Master Gardener certification. This full mini album will be one of the projects that we've worked on at our local science center since the beginning of summer. My plan is to include pictures of the progress of the project from the beginning to the end, and also to include journaling about the process. When the project is complete, I plan to use the space at the bottom of page 1 to include a picture of the fully completed project. I'm ready to start building the first of my journaling spots. I'm bringing the Florals in Bloom paper back in to see which piece of the pattern paper I'd like to use for my first journaling spot. I plan on using this as one of the largest journaling spots in the album where I'll fully describe the project. As I look at the options for the different pattern paper available from the Flowers in Bloom DSP pack, I realized that I really like this green pattern paper. Compared to some of the other patterns with fully blooming flowers, this one feels the most to me like the beginning of new growth, and the pattern also reminds me of the different seeds that we planted in the ground to get the garden going. As I previously mentioned, this project was done at our local science center. The project was to build an outdoor space for the science center to do some of their children's programming, and also to build a pollinator garden, a greenhouse, and a composting area. The goal with the pollinator garden is to help educate local residents on what types of pollinator plants are available to us in North Dakota. I've now adhered down the piece of DSP that I'm going to be using on this page, and I'm starting to play around with the different bow punches that were included in the mystery envelope. Since this video is a collaboration with the Inspiration Collaboration Design Team, make sure to stay tuned to the end where you'll be able to access the playlist of all of the different projects that were created using this mystery envelope. I've gone back and forth a little bit with which bows I want to use and where I want to position them on this page. I keep gravitating back towards the top left corner of the page for the bows, but I realize that they're getting a little bit lost on the DSP. I've moved them to various places on the White Willow cardstock, but I feel like I'd like to make a little embellishment cluster on the top left portion of the page. I bring in the party banners dies and some summer splash cardstock to make a banner to place behind some of the sprigs. I feel like that will help offset the sprigs just enough that they'll be more visible. Summer Splash is one of the colors in this DSP as well. I start off using the smallest banner and I realize that it's a little too small for the size of these sprigs. So I recut the banner using the next larger size. The next larger size ends up being the perfect size banner for these sprigs. To help complete this embellishment cluster, I want to bring in a sentiment. So I bring in my Tags to Go stamp set and experiment with using some of the stamps from this set. I originally think that I want to stamp this arrow along with the word today from the stamp that says today marks an adventure. I use my Granny Apple Green ink pad to ink up my stamp and then stamp off on a post-it note so that I can create a second generation stamp of the arrow. I then use some post-it labeling tape to mask off the part of the today marks an adventure stamp so that I only have the word today and ink that up in Summer Splash. Once I've stamped, I realized that the today stamp doesn't work with this arrow as I had hoped. The word is a little too long to fit inside the arrow and has a slight arch to it. I re-stamp on plain white willow cardstock and then fussy cut around the word so that I can incorporate the arch. I try a few different places for the sentiment and am ultimately happy with this placement right here. I did put the sentiment up on some foam tape so that there's a little bit more dimension to the embellishment cluster. I've matted and put together my photos for my other pages off camera so that I can show you how I embellished some of the other pages. I'm now using this print from the Florals and Bloom paper to give some added interest to this page by just adding some 1.5-inch strips to each side of my photo. I've again used both sides of the cardstock to place my photos so that I'm saving room in the album. I've matted all of my photos in Granny Apple Green cardstock and cut the mats so that they're just slightly larger than the photos. I've stamped this sprig from the new Holly Jolly stamp set in Memento Tuxedo Black ink and then colored it in using my Granny Apple Green Stampin' Blends markers. I've used another 3/4-inch piece of the same pattern from Florals and Bloom as the opposing page to put some DSP on the bottom of that journaling spot. Next, I'm going to bring back in more of the green dot pattern that I used on my first journaling spot and use that to embellish my next journaling area. I'm going to select 2 more of the die cuts that were included in the mystery envelope for this embellishment cluster, along with a sentiment that I had previously stamped and die cut from the More Messages stamp set. The sentiment says a note, which I figured was perfect for this journaling spot. I'm also going to pop this up on foam tape, and then I think this embellishment cluster is complete. If you're not familiar with what it means to be a master gardener, every state in the United States has a land grant university within the state. Those universities support extension programs within the counties of the state. Master gardeners are unpaid volunteers who help out with projects within a community. The Master Gardener program was originally started as a way to help extension agents answer questions related to gardening issues, such as what are the best varieties of plants to plant in a certain geographic area, or why plants might be having certain issues. More in a moment. I've now brought in my Nested Essentials dies and used the smallest banner on the die set to cut banners out of Summer Splash cardstock and more of the green dot pattern cardstock. I then stamped Lovely Day from the Lovely Florals stamp set in Garden Green ink and fussy cut around the sentiment. As I flip to the next page, you'll see that I've used another inch of Florals and Bloom DSP at the top of this journaling spot, and then stamped the story from the Lovely Florals stamp set in Memento Black ink. For the next page, I've masked off this sentiment so that it only says My Happy Place and stamped in Granny Apple Green ink. I've used a different DSP to add paper to the bottom of this journaling spot. For my next journaling spot, I've stamped Picture Perfect from the Lovely Florals stamp set in Garden Green and added another 1/4-inch piece of DSP to the bottom of the journaling spot. With this last journaling spot, I'm done with this album for now. I will continue working on it as the project continues to progress. I also have these materials left over, so I'll have plenty to work with when I come back to the album to complete it. This also leaves me with plenty of scraps that I can continue to use for another project as well. Master gardeners now help out with community-based projects such as this garden that we helped create by our science center. Master gardeners also teach classes and participate in things such as garden events. Getting the Master Gardener certification requires 40 hours of classroom training and then participating in 48 hours worth of volunteer projects just to obtain the certification. Once certified, a Master Gardener must complete 10 hours of continuing education and 20 hours of volunteer service every year. I absolutely love being a Master Gardener because it means that I've been able to help my community out in several different ways, such as working on this project, tending to a pollinator garden, and donating produce that I've grown to one of our emergency food pantries. A full list of the supplies that I've used for this album project will be located in the description box for this video, so please make sure to check it out. And as a reminder, this was an inspiration collaboration design team mystery envelope, so make sure to check out this playlist so that you can find all of the other videos. And please make sure to like and subscribe to my channel. Thanks so much for watching. Have a great day and craft on.